Namaskar, good afternoon once again. We are going to have a special briefing on the visit of Rashtrapati ji to 3 countries starting next week, to Croatia, Bolivia and Chile. I have with me Secretary East. I also have the Press Secretary to the President and the 2 Joint Secretaries who look after that region, Dr. Anju Kumar, Joint Secretary Central Europe, and Mr. G.V. Srinivas, who looks after Latin American countries. After the initial remarks by Secretary East, I will request the Press Secretary to give his comments, and then we will move on to the question and answer session. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Rashtrapati ji will be visiting Croatia from 25 to 28 March, Bolivia from 28 to 30th March, and Chile from 30th March to 2nd April. Rashtrapati ji will be in Croatia, as I stated, from 25 to 28 March, and on the first ever visit of a head of state from India. We've had one visit from Croatian side, the President of Croatia, Mesic. He visited India in 2002. So this is a high-level visit taking place between the 2 countries after 17 years. Croatia is an important Central European country from the point of view of its geostrategical location, its membership of the European Union and the NATO, as well as being a significant gateway to Europe through the Adriatic coastline. The achievement in reaching the finals of the 2018 FIFA World Cup won them international acclaim, and I think many in India had watched that match also. India-Croatian relations are characterized by historical connections that go back to the 16th century. Croatian people have deep interest in India. The Indology department in the University of Zagreb, which is a very old university in Croatia, that has existed, the Indology department there has existed for over 6 decades, and an ICCR Hindi chair was set up a decade ago. After the independence of Croatia, there have been exchange of ministerial level visits between our 2 countries. The President of Croatia, as I mentioned, had visited here in 2002. From our side, we had a visit by Vice President in June 2010. Our minister, more recently, our Minister for Commerce and Industry, he visited Croatia in February 2018 when a bilateral economic cooperation agreement was signed. Their foreign minister was in India in October 2018. The bilateral relations between India and Croatia are modest at around $200 million in 2017, but there is good scope for trading in sectors like textiles, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, engineering goods, food processing, among others. Croatia has a sound scientific and technological base in niche sectors such as shipbuilding, vaccines, renewable energy, and defense. Indian companies are present in Croatia in pharmaceutical, renewable energy, and information technology sectors, and there is scope for investments in development of port infrastructure. A business delegation from diverse sectors will be in Croatia for the India-Croatia Business Forum to help promote business collaboration between our 2 countries, and that forum will take place in the presence of Rashtrapati ji during his visit. Rashtrapati ji will arrive in Croatia in the afternoon of 25th March. Next day, he will have interactions with the President of Croatia and the Prime Minister of Croatia. He will have one-to-one and delegation-level talks. He will address the Indian community and Croatian Friends of India. The next day, the 2 presidents, Rashtrapati ji and his Croatian counterpart, will address the Indian-Croatian Business Forum meeting. Thereafter, Rashtrapati ji will deliver a speech at the University of Zagreb. The other elements of the program would include laying the wreath at Mirogoj Cemetery in front of the Voice of the Croatian Victims Wall of Pain Memorial. Rashtrapati ji will then proceed to his visit to the two Latin American countries, and his visit to the region is a part of India's growing engagement with countries in Latin America. Rashtrapati ji will be visiting Bolivia from 28th to 30th March. This is the first ever high-level visit between the two countries since the establishment of diplomatic relations. India and Bolivia are ancient civilizations with rich and varied cultures. Our bilateral relations are warm and friendly, underpinned with abundant goodwill and a desire to forge closer cooperations in areas of mutual interest. Our interactions between the two countries so far have been at ministerial levels or at meetings on the sidelines of regional and multilateral events. Prime Minister had met the Bolivian President, Evo Morales, on the margins of the BRICS summit in Brazil in 2014. EAM had met her Bolivian counterpart on the margins of UNGA last September. Bolivia is a landlocked country. It is rich in mineral resources. It has large deposits of lithium, gold, silver, and gas reserves. Bolivia's lithium and our needs for e-mobility and e-storage provide natural synergies. A delegation of Kabul had visited Bolivia and has had discussions with the Bolivian companies. And we also see that as Bolivia would embark on industrialization of its resources, India could be a partner that could provide know-how, technology, and skills. Some of our companies are already in Bolivia, largely in sectors of IT and even in vehicles. We have companies who are in like Tata Motors, Bajaj Auto, Mahindra and Mahindra. They have business links in Bolivia. Our trade has grown very significantly. If you look at the last financial year, 2017-2018, trade grew by 205% to reach US $772 million. India has emerged as a major export destination for Bolivia, and Bolivia is India's 9th largest trading partner in Latin America and Caribbean region. Indian exports are 667 million, and our imports are 105, and our exports are 105 million. Our main exports are vehicles and pharmaceutical products. We also provide capacity building support to Bolivia and slots in IT as well as training of diplomats. Rashtrapati ji's program in Bolivia would start with restricted and delegation level talks with the President of Bolivia, Evo Morales. He will participate in India-Bolivia Business Forum meeting. He would interact with the students of and deliver an address at the Universidad Autónoma Gabriel René Moreno, which is the largest university in Bolivia, one of its major centers of learning, and an old university at that. It was established in 1880. As Rashtrapati ji will also be interacting with the Indian community there, which is small but nevertheless important interaction for Rashtrapati ji. From Bolivia, Rashtrapati ji would be going to Chile on 30th of March. This visit to Chile is taking place as our two countries are celebrating 70 years of our diplomatic relations. Our relations are warm with a commonality of view on a range of issues. Both countries interact with each other bilaterally and at multilateral fora. We have similar views on many issues, whether it's climate change, renewable energy, and the expansion and reform of the UN Security Council. In the past, we've had regular interactions with Chile. In the 60th year of the establishment of diplomatic relations, the President of Chile was here in India, and recently, in December last year, Prime Minister had met the President of Chile, Sebastián Piñera, on the sidelines of G20 meeting in Buenos Aires. Again, like Bolivia, Chile has a huge base of natural resources, which includes copper, tin, forest resources. It has a control of a large part of Antarctica and has a very large maritime boundary also. It is a country which has engaged extensively with the outside world. It has free trade agreements with a large number of countries and regions, and we ourselves have a preferential trade agreement with Chile. It was expanded in the year 2017, and our trade has been growing with Chile. It is today the sixth largest trading partner of India in LAC region, and we also use Chile as a platform to discuss our relations with other broader Latin American countries. Minister of State Dr. V.K. Singh was in Chile last October and to attend the India-LAC Business Forum. Our imports are about $2 billion, largely copper, iodine, wood pulp, and molybdenum. Our exports are 764 million, and mainly vehicles and pharmaceutical products. There is investment between the two countries. Indian investments are about $206 million, while Chile has invested about $105 million. Therefore, we are looking at how to give trade and economic relations an impetus during Rashtrapati Ji's visit. Chile has also joined in the International Solar Alliance, showing its commitment to renewable energy. So that will be, renewable energy is also a part of the discussions between our two countries. Rashtrapati Ji will be interacting with, again, students and the academic community during his visit to Chile. Currently he would also be interacting with the Indian community, which is about 3,000, about half and half Indian nationals and people of Indian origin. If I go through the program of Rashtrapati Ji, he would have restricted and delegation level talks with the President of Chile, Sebastián Piñeras. He would interact with the students and deliver an address at the University of Chile. And University of Chile they had built a nano-satellite, and in 2017, the satellite was launched in an Indian space launch vehicle. Rashtrapati Ji will participate in the India-Chile business meeting and interact with the Indian community as well. Our discussions with Chile would be focused on, as I said, strengthening relations, in particular our economic relations and trade and investment ties. So you can see that Rashtrapati Ji's visit to these three countries has a full agenda. We would be having political interactions, business and economic interactions. They would be with the exchanges with the community as well as with the young students and the youth. We are hopeful that Rashtrapati Ji's visit will reinvigorate our bilateral ties and provide new direction to our relationship with these three countries. Before I end, I could say that when Rashtrapati Ji is returning back, on the way back, he will make a transit halt in South Africa, in Cape Town, and he would be using that occasion to pay tribute to Nelson Mandela and to interact with the Indian community. So I would stop here.
I now give the floor to the Press Secretary to the President, Shri Ashok Malik.
Thank you. Good afternoon, friends. After the very comprehensive briefing by Secretary East, there is very little I can add. I'd like to leave you with some numbers about Rashtrapati Ji's visit. This is the 9th state visit of President Kovind and the first visit in the calendar year 2019. It is the 5th visit of his the second year of his presidency, which began in July last year. So 9th overall, 5th in his second year, and 1st in the calendar year 2019. He has so far visited 17 countries. With this visit, he would have visited 20 countries. This is, as Secretary explained, the first visit by a President of India to Croatia and to Bolivia. It is the 3rd visit by a President of India to Chile. This is the second time President Kovind would be visiting South America. In June last year, he had visited Suriname. This year, of course, he's visiting Chile and Bolivia. Santa Cruz in Bolivia and subsequently Santiago in Chile would represent the furthest President Kovind has traveled as President of India. Santiago is about 17,000 kilometers from New Delhi. In all three countries, as the Secretary explained, the President will address business events as well as university audiences. Business delegations and business promotion is a very important part of this visit. The visit is diplomatically exciting and full of opportunities. It is also a logistical challenge, and it includes 2 flights that are of 13 hours, 1 flight that is of 11 hours, and 1 flight that is of 10 hours. If you take the entire flying time, President Kovind will be flying for 50 hours and 40 minutes, which tells you something about the visit. I'd like to stop there. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ashok. I now open the floor to questions. Ranjit ji.
My question is on Chile. Early last decade, India supplied a few helicopters to Chile. Now, are you contemplating any fresh defense cooperation agreement to revive that sort of cooperation with Chile?
We do have a defense agreement with Chile. In fact, a delegation had just visited Chile recently. They've just come back. So defense engagement will be a part of dialogue in Rashtrapati's talks with in Chile.
Huma.
Ma'am, if you could please tell us something, how many MOUs are expected to be signed between India and Bolivia, and is the government also planning to open its embassy in Bolivia, because there's no embassy there, and this is a very important visit?
The discussions are ongoing regarding the MOUs and agreements that we will be signing. So once the discussions have taken place between the 2 presidents, we will let you know the agreements that are signed. As far as opening an embassy, it's very much something which is on the agenda, and we'll take it.
Any other question on any other aspect of the visit? जी.
राष्ट्रपति जी का visit में CII, FICCI and other agencies, business also are moving with the...
Thank you.
Yes, there will be a business delegation that will be in all the 3 countries during Rashtrapati ji's visit. It's still being compiled, but do you have the details? About 20 plus.
20 and 30.
20. So Croatia is 35, and then 20 and 30 in the other 2 countries.
Yes, Huma.
Ma'am, in Chile, there was some talks about also the cutting down the duties on certain items. Will that be discussed during the talks, or?
We do have, as I said, a preferential trade agreement with Chile. There are issues which are there regarding some of the market access issues and tariffs. They would, of course, when you take an overview of the relationships, these issues will come up, and they form a part of a bilateral agenda with that country.
Siddhant.
Ma'am, he is going to a European country, but I believe he has been to other European countries as well, specifically in Southern Europe and Central Europe. What does it mean? I mean, in the visit by the president, the growing engagement with these countries, especially in Southern Europe and Central Europe?
See, India's engagement with the world is increasing. And as a part of that increased engagement, we feel that Rashtrapati ji's visits do give a profile to the relationship, and these visits of Rashtrapati ji's build the relationship and have added great depth and dimension to our relations with these countries.
I don't see any. Yeah.
Be discussed with any of these countries, because Chile has already launched one of its mini satellites from India. So is Croatia planning, and if and if Bolivia is also
Space
talking
cooperation.
anything in space?
You always ask questions about space. But yes, with Chile, we have a space cooperation, and which would be discussed. With Bolivia, we'll explore the possibilities. As of now, there is no cooperation in the space side with Bolivia, but we will explore possibilities and opportunities. I'm sure that with Croatia also, they would always be, we can always explore. But as of now, with the other two, we don't have ongoing, but the exploration will be there.
Ji, Ranjit ji.
Besides Chile, with Croatia and Bolivia also will be having discussions on defense engagement?
Defense engagement.
See, the high-level visits are opportunities to really see the whole gambit and see where there is a possibility of cooperation. I won't go into what will come up during the discussions, but when you review the whole relationship, there could be issues that come up, and we'll take it during the discussions.
This concludes the special briefing on the visit of Rashtrapati Ji to 3 countries. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you others for joining. And thank you all for being here today.